Alright, what's going on guys, and welcome back. So with Dragon Quest Monsters, The Dark Prince being out, and what I can only assume are a lot of fresh fans who've never played a Dragon Quest Monsters title, I figured why not discuss essentially how battles work, what tactics are, the differences between battling in the wild versus battling in one of the Colosseums, and basically just get you guys on the right path to finding success, again, especially if you're new to the franchise coming from something like Pokemon, because there is a lot going on in these games, and I find that a lot of people try too hard to explain every little intricate detail, which oftentimes leaves a lot of people confused. Today's video is going to be a very basic overview of the combat system that will provide you with the building blocks needed in order to start building your own teams and experimenting for yourself. That said, let's dive in. Okay, so battles take place typically in a 4-on-4 setting where both teams essentially duke it out until one side of the field is not standing. Typically, every monster gets to utilize one move for each turn phase, with the exception being certain monsters with unique traits that allow for multiple attacks during a single phase, or large monsters which, as they sound, are bigger, bulkier, and can attack 2 to 3 times per turn at the cost of 2 party member slots instead of 1. You can get more information about monster sizes in our video dedicated to it, linked below. Now, much like Pokemon, these monsters are broken down into stats, which in this case include HP, MP, which is your magic points, aka stamina, attack, defense, agility, and wisdom. Attack being based on your physical attacks, and wisdom essentially being your spell-based damage stat or your special attack stat. Monsters also come with their own resistances and weaknesses, which can be seen in the summary tab. This is important to note because unlike Pokemon, where each are given their own generic typing, which include the same weaknesses at the same damages, every monster has its own unique strengths and weaknesses with a differing amount of resistances to those types. So it does become a lot more complex than just remembering a type chart. Monsters also have talents, which we did go over in our talents video, also linked below, but basically these are the blueprints for different moves that they can learn, and they also consist of buffs, passive effects, or again, active moves that cause damage or a status ailment, or also can buff you as well. Similarly, every monster can have multiple traits, which are basically like abilities from Pokemon in that they're passive effects that are innate to the creature that possess set trait. Things get really crazy when you consider the fact that talents come with passive abilities as well in a lot of cases, on top of the fact that you have these passive traits. So there's a lot going on in the background besides just your active moves. Now, when you do end up in battle, you're given a few different options. For this video, the most important are the fight option, the order option, and the tactics option, all of which are intertwined. Fight simply executes the commands that were chosen in the orders section, or if no orders were given, it'll execute your turn based on your monster tactics. Tactics are essentially a set of instructions for a monster that makes the AI lean more towards utilizing a certain type of skill set. You can set a monster's tactics to one of 5 options, including Show No Mercy, which prioritizes damage above all else, Weaken the Enemy, which focuses on inflicting status ailments, Support Your Allies, which focuses on buffing your team, Focus on Healing, which is pretty self-explanatory, it'll use healing moves if possible, and Don't Use Magic, which conserves MP and makes it so the monsters won't use any magic skills. Remember that tactics will be used if no other commands are given, and in situations like the Colosseum where you cannot give direct commands to your monsters. Other than that, you can also choose to order your monsters to use certain skills that they possess, but this is essentially dedicated to wild battles within the game. So while it's great to experiment with your talents and commands and such, just remember that the big battles are going to essentially play out like the auto battle function that you can activate by pressing ZR. You also have the option of setting specific instructions for your monsters, which can be found in the main menu. This allows you to take every single one of your monster's skills and set it to use it more often with the green arrow, use it less often with the yellow arrow, or don't use it at all with the X. This is obviously something that'll be really useful when you can't take direct control of your monsters. There are also a couple of other pieces of noteworthy information, like how critical attacks do exist and are influenced by either the agility stat when deciding a physical critical blow, or the wisdom stat with a special critical spell, for example. You also have access to accessories, which are sort of like held items in that they'll give you some sort of additional benefit to your monster. You could see here that the Ring of Protection gives you some extra defense when equipped, and you even have the Frenzied state, which grants your monsters more power, an extra action, and more defense when in a pinch. This is basically the game's way of giving you a last-ditch effort in winning an otherwise hopeless matchup. But from what I could tell, there is a massive random element to this, but nevertheless it is useful to know that sometimes your monsters will just become mad when you're getting your butt kicked, and you could turn it around, which is quite nice. And that's pretty much the basic gist of how battles work in Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince. I know this is a really basic guide, but I honestly find whenever you have games, especially in the monster taming genre, that are a bit more complex, everybody likes to dive into the most advanced topics without giving newcomers a chance to even figure out how the base mechanics work. Yeah, min-maxing your monsters and going nuts with the synthesis system will be great, but if you don't understand how to battle, you're not really going to have a good time playing this game, and you're going to be confused, and you're just going to think it's an auto battler when it's not. That being said, we will be going into some in-depth guides in the future, and more guides like this moving forward as well, so make sure to subscribe so you get notified when all of my future Dragon Quest Monsters content drops, and make sure to check out some of the links in the description for more information about some of the systems that we mentioned today. You can also check out my Twitter, Discord, Patreon, PayPal, and channel memberships linked below if you want to go the extra mile in supporting the channel. And other than that, special thanks to our supporters, especially Jim Hamilton, Dro Ghost, Candy Morency, and Tragsoft, and we'll see you next time. Peace.